Before going into the field, keep in mind the following steps. First, collect all the data available about the event that you want to investigate. Second, be sure that your research problem is very well defined, as well as your methodology. This can help you avoid coming back in order to get data that was not captured in the first visit because you did not clearly define the theme, problem, or methodology. Third, if possible, test your instruments for data collection. Sometimes some pre-tests can help you to see if your adopted model of field research will give you all the answers in the way that you are expecting. Try to use a nearby population or ask the opinion of a supervisor or specialists. There are a diverse kind of methods to adopt in field research. Each one helps you, the researcher, to choose the best strategy for your research depending on the specific conditions of the event that will be analyzed. The main methods are direct observation, participant observation, ethnography, interviews, and case study. The choice among one of those methods will depend on the approach and the goals of the research, but also the budget available, since some of those require more time in the field or a bigger sample, which means more costs. In direct observation, the researcher collects the data through the observation of the agents in their natural social environment. In this method, the researcher does not interfere in the context or interact to change the natural state of the variables observed. However, it requires more than watching and listening. It also requires analyzing the facts that one aims to study. So it is necessary to collect data and confront it analytically. How? By collecting a wide data range of data and linking with a good literature review. In participant observation, on the other hand, the researcher is free to express themselves and interact with the agents. It's open a free dialogue and exposing the research point of view about the topic. The feedback between the researcher and the agents analyzed is the key point of this method. This method is suggested for those who intend to work with practical questions and have research aimed to propose changes in the state of the effects of the population analyzed. However, it's important to be careful in this approach, to not be very tough with some hard academic approach and neglect the feedback from the population, as this can create an adverse result. In ethnographic studies, the researcher observed the whole environment that encapsulates the phenomenon analyzed, culture, behavior, language. It's a very deep study that tries to represent a very realistic way the event itself and all its features. Interviews are an instrument that allow for the collection of qualitative and quantitative data for specific topics. This method permits access to precious and concise data. There are several ways to conduct an interview, such as informal and conversational dialogue, semi-structured, standardized open-ended, and survey. In the informal and conversational dialogue format, there are no need to prepare elaborate questions. The researcher will guide the interview to seek the sequential description of the event that they want to understand. For this kind of interview, it's vital that the researcher create a field diary for description and registration of all facts observed during the research. In the semi-structured format, the researcher partially formulates the questions before getting in the field. This works by creating a flexible script that contains some topics, but the researcher can go further in specific points that could arise during the interview. In standardized open-ended interviews, the researcher pre-prepares all the questions. This instrument requires a good knowledge about the topic and the population investigated. In addition, the questions are asked in the same sequence for all the interviews and are presented in an open-ended format. However, when the research needs a quantitative data collection, the most appropriate instrument is a survey. Even qualitative questions can be transformed into quantitative data using some methodologies such as Likert scale. The survey is structured mainly as closed questions previously set by the researcher before getting in the field. This format allows for the collection of standardized answers, which avoid misinterpretation. For this method, you need to have a deep knowledge about the topic and the population in order to create closed answers that really capture the data precisely. Another important tip for a good survey is create an instrument focused on the main point of your research, that is, not too long. If the interviewed lose the interest or get bored, the answers could be of bad quality. Independent of the format chosen for the interview, some steps are universally needed in order to be well prepared. Make a plan for the interview. Organize the most important questions first. Avoid intimate questions at the beginning of the interview. Sometimes the interviewee becomes more comfortable over the course of the interview and are more open to very personal questions than in the beginning, when they still have no knowledge about the intentions or the goals of your research. It's also important to establish a knowledge of the interviewed or event of population target of your research. And last but not least, contact key people where your research will take place. These people can highlight some important aspects to consider and provide local insights that might help you to get the information you need more quickly. Pay attention to some problems that can arise in the middle of the interview, such as lack of interest by the interviewed to respond with care, misunderstanding of the question because of scientific terminology, acknowledge of laws and legislation. Also, beware about possible not true answers. Try to create an instrument that answers can be crossed in order to verify the veracity of the responses. Besides that, sometimes people are not very clear in their answers, so try to get understanding and be very careful about the influence of the interviewer in the answers of the interviewed. Sometimes, the way that the questions are made creates some kind of auto-responses of the interviewed for plenty of reasons. A final design for field research is the adoption of case study methodology. This instrument consists with a deep analysis of the event. The researcher immerses in the event and collects all the important data. Often, this kind of research design is adopted due to the difficultness of a wide study topic, so the researcher chose a specific event to analyze and provides insight and facts for further studies. The one problem about the case study is that the result cannot be generalized because they only represent the cross-section chosen.